And welcome back to the third class of the day for this Para-Dressage teen competition. We now have the Grade 1 Grand Prix B test. The venue is getting a little bit busier. It's getting even hotter. And we have 14 riders coming through for this Grade 1 teen competition. 13 teams in contention here at the Europeans. And we've had a fantastic start so far with those Grade 3 and Grade 2 riders. The team made up of a minimum of 3 scores. So if teams do have that 4th rider, they do have the luxury of a drop score. And this is the start list for this group of Grade 1 riders. We'll have 2 groups. The first 7 will go before a short break, and then the remaining riders will compete. And this Grand Prix B also part of riders' second qualifier for that freestyle on Saturday. But the first rider into the arena is a very important one for the teen competition. So entering the arena now, representing Germany, Martina Benzinger, riding the 17-year-old mare Nautica. Germany have had a very good start to this teen competition, with Heidemarie dressing in the Grade 2 and Melanie in the Grade 3, both putting forward very strong scores for Team Germany. So another score from Martina would be very helpful for them. She scored 74.833 in the individual competition to secure that silver medal. And something similar would be very useful for them. She's starting off strong. Germany's 4th rider will ride tomorrow in that Grade 5. But 3 good scores for them would really take the pressure off her. And we heard during Heidemarie's test in that Grade 2, we heard the cheering from the Grand Prix arena over in the dressage, and that really helping her horse really able to stay concentrated on her. But we'll have the final group over in the dressage while this Grade 1 class is going on, which could be an extra challenge for some of the horses. So really hoping that they are able to keep their focus for this class. But Martina doing a very good job, just maintaining that rhythm through this walk work. This horse, not the biggest moving, but really showing good willingness. Stays very consistent, stays in a very clear rhythm. And that's where she can really pick up those marks, just looking really easy for the combination. And these smaller circles and changes of bend really highlighting the horse's suppleness through this walk section. Grade 1 riders just riding in the walk pace, but really having to maintain a clear walk, showing those changes of bend, showing that suppleness, that acceptance from the rider, from the horse, to the rider and really maintaining the balance throughout all these turns. And it can be really tricky when the arena is quite busy. It's really difficult to keep the horse's focus and softness through 4.5 minutes of this walk work. They don't have any trot or canter to break it up and allow any of the excess energy or tension out. So the horse is really needing to stay with their rider and be relaxed through their whole body in order to show that off. And Martina really able to keep this consistent, just not quite square behind in that hole. But good immobility there, and again, very obediently forward. And you can just see her making tiny adjustments just to keep her focus on her and set her up, softening her before this stretch work. Martina choosing to use those loop reins with multiple loops on them, so you can see she's able to change the length of her rein to allow the horse forward for that free walk. And we've seen a lot of riders having to lean forward, and especially in this grade 1 class where riders don't always have the dexterity or that core strength to lean forward so much. That's an area that she's really able to pick those marks up. And a tiny bit of resistance going into that final halt, but a really solid test for Germany. Very good immobility there. And another solid test for Germany for their team competition. Looking like she's improved on her score from the individual slightly. Just sitting on 75 as she came towards the end of that test. And that puts Germany in a very strong place for this team competition, and another consistent test from Martina to secure her a place in that freestyle final. A very well presented program in front of this home crowd. Germany really coming through strong at this Europeans. Super start with all riders medaling in the individual. And here's the score, 75.333. So a super score for Martina and very, very useful for the team. And here are those scores. So 73.933, looking like that drop score, but a 77 and 75 as well. 152.9 puts them into second place from those two scores. They may be using that 73 score from earlier in the day, but that puts them in a very nice place and takes the heat off Regine, who will ride tomorrow a little bit. And a very, very strong place for them, for Team Germany. The judges have those fans in the judges' box. Quite warm sitting in there for this competition. And the second rider coming forward in this first group of 7. Representing Sweden, it's Anita Johnson riding the 9-year-old gelding Current LA. And this combination finished in 8th place in the individual on 70.583, so they will be hoping to put another strong test forward to try to qualify for the freestyle. As well as riding for those team placings. And their friendly horse in the corner there, doing a very good job of giving this horse confidence. It's a very tricky role to try and find a sensible, friendly horse that will stand still and help rather than hinder. But entering the arena for Sweden, Anita Johnson, riding Current LA. Oh, and I think just squaring up there very nicely with that front leg. Those halts so important in all tests, but really in this test very influential. And this walk test having a slightly lower number of movements than the higher grades, which means if you have a mistake, it really impacts the overall score and is much more influential. There's fewer opportunities to build that back up again, so really no room for error in these walk tests. I'm just seeing a little bit of inconsistency in the walk rhythm. The horse just showing some slight resistance on the turns, and you then get that little bit of interference with that rhythm. But doing a good job of keeping those lines clear. Again, you just see that swinging of the quarters, so when she asks the horse to soften around her leg, he isn't quite able to and just pushes out rather than bending around. Just that little bit of holding. But really doing a good job of just sitting quietly. And working with what she has underneath her. Yeah, and just seeing it on the circle again as well this way. But really keeping her cool and not letting it interfere too much. Just seeing a tiny bit of the mouth opening as well, just lots of little clues about that bit of resistance and holding. That would just stop those higher marks coming through. Some nice steps there on that serpentine, and you can see when the horse just softens and relaxes through the back, there is some quality work coming through. It's just that little bit of inconsistency and a little bit of tension that just stops them from scooping up those high 70s and the 8s and 9s. And just not quite square in that halt, but very good immobility. Just really, again, showing off, really testing the horses and riders with this changes of bend, changes of size of the circle, really highlighting the control of the horse and the horse's body. Anita there having to just lean forward to allow the horse that space to stretch the head and neck. And nice and straight down this final centre line. And a good square halt there to finish. The horse just stepping forwards into it and almost hesitating a fraction, but a super effort from this Swedish rider, and again very consistent through. She managed that really well, kept communicating with the horse and trying to soften and settle in when she could. And still more to come from them when you get that little bit more settled, a bit more relaxation. But still another consistent test for them. And those scores just coming through in a moment. That next rider waiting to come through, ready. And I think she might just be sitting below the score she will have got for the individual. Yeah, so 69.667, so very fractionally below what she scored a couple of days ago, but that puts her into second place at this point. And another consistent score for her campaign to try to qualify through for that freestyle. So Sweden in 11th place at the moment, but just one score for them to consider. And there's other riders coming forward tomorrow. So that score, that final score, not fully reflecting exactly where they might be. Because now looking at the scores, there will be a couple of riders with a couple of countries with a different number of riders who have completed at this point. So it won't be fully accurate representation of where they stand on the medal table. But a solid score for Sweden. And this next rider coming through now in this grade 1 class, representing Slovakia, riding the 17-year-old gelding Sterngreifer. We have Lucia Vladevikova. So riding here as an individual. So riding for that individual overall ranking. She scored 65.417 in that individual 2 days ago. So just hearing that bell go and getting ready to enter the arena. So representing Slovakia, Lucia Vladevikova. And it's always a tricky timing when the bell goes just as you've gone past the entrance. You have that decision as to whether you have time to go around again or whether you need to turn around and go back the other way. And for the walk horses, it's not always quite long enough for them to walk around the edge of the arena. So just making sure that you can set yourself up in the best way to get that first center line and make that good first impression. And riding, another rider choosing to ride in this double bridle, and she has those whips each side where the limited strength or use of the leg, just it offers a little bit of support to help keep that body in the right place. And this horse, quite big moving through the walk, just showing some good steps through some of the movements, just sometimes losing that consistency and the positioning of the horse on the movements and through the movements. Better this way, just sometimes you see that outside bend through some of the turns and just the energy losing. You just saw there on the turn, the energy just snuck out through that right shoulder, and then you get that slight loss of balance and that slight sway from side to side, just not quite with the same connection that some of the higher scoring horses in this class will show. But she's doing a really good job of riding this rhythm, keeping it consistent. And you can just see the horse's tongue just coming out quite a bit through some of those movements. So I just stumbled. These riders can be really balancing on a very fine line between being in balance, and it doesn't always take much to unbalance them. And for some riders not with the core strength, if they fall or lose their balance, they can't always get it back. So even a horse tripping can be enough sometimes to throw them off. And that serpentine should be hitting those 3/4 lines on all the turns, so really placing it evenly over the center line, so possibly a little bit looking a bit shallow, but keeping this nice rhythm through all the movements. And a good hold. You just see again that mouth opening a little bit and that the tongue just creeping out at times, just showing that bit of resistance, not quite acceptance of the rein, just not quite able to always put the horse on the line that she might like to. Just see a little bit of falling in and a little bit falling out through some of the movements. Yeah, nicely into that. So you could just see her softening the horse before she went into the free walk, just to put him in a better place for that stretch. Going nicely onto that center line. Oh, not quite square, but very good immobility on that final halt. And a really consistently kept the rhythm through that test. So just a few little details to iron out, just to get the shapes a bit better and the horse a bit more supple, and just that acceptance so that he's a bit more through and consistent in the way of going. But some really nice walk work through here, and the rhythm just stayed the same. really consistently through the turns and through the circles, which is just what you want to be seeing. So still a lot of opportunities, a lot of potential, and a lot of scope to build on those scores. And a score of 62.375, so that goes into third place in this class at the moment. Probably won't be enough to go through to that freestyle final, but really great that they've had the chance to come into the arena twice and build on that first day of competition and just gain some more valuable experience in the arena. So we have 4 riders left to go in this first group of Grade 1 riders. And this next rider to come forward. So another rider riding as an individual. We have a few riders in this Grade 1, not part of a team, but riding as individuals for that qualification spot at the end of the week. So riding for the Czech Republic next. Anastasia Vistalova riding the 9-year-old mare First Love. And this combination finished in 10th place in the individual on Tuesday on a score of 68.083. So very close between that 10th spot and that qualifying 8th spot. So if she can build on that performance, she'll put herself in a strong place to qualify through. So, entering the arena in this Grade 1 class, Anastasia Vistalova. On this lovely 9-year-old mare by First and Ball. And this horse, really exciting one for the future. Very, very big walk, very scopy in her movement. One that just needs to get a little bit stronger to be able to show the consistency, but just has the potential to show some exceptional work in this walk. I mean, she really does walk like a panther. She just has a very elegant way of going, very careful with her foot placement, and really accentuates that 4-beat stride. And you can just see with that brings its additional challenges in that the movement has to be controlled. And you can just see that she sometimes just wiggles a bit from side to side where Anastasia's just struggling to channel that. Yeah, really super steps through that center line. And you can just see her just driving the horse with her seat. Just needing to learn to stay in front of the rider and take the rider so that she can just help with her balance a little bit. And it's really difficult when you have such a big moving walk through these smaller circles. It's quite a lot of work sometimes to keep the horse in balance. But this mare, just such a lovely attitude and so willing in her temperament. You can just see her just really trying and very comfortable in this championship environment, which makes such a difference for the rider. She really uses her whole body, and you can see the walk move through her body like a ripple effect. She doesn't just walk with her legs, she walks with her whole body. And you just want to see that little bit more consistency and strength, just pushing through from behind. Oh, just a little unfortunate confusion, I think, there. You just want to see her pushing through from behind up into that nice consistent contact. And at the minute you just sometimes see that energy going out through the shoulder. And then the horse almost has to overcorrect herself to get her balance back in the right place. And just step back a little bit, I think, with that right hind, but very square. Very good immobility. And straight away the horse just steps out into that big stride. A really lovely attitude for this 9-year-old. And again, just standing up in her stirrups and having to lean forwards to allow the rein for her to take a bigger stride. But then you're in a very difficult place you can't use your seat to ride the rhythm, and you can't really use much leg to say, come on, stay walking. And the horses have to get used to that feeling. It's a bit of a weird feeling for them sometimes. It doesn't always encourage them to want to go forward, so they have to familiarize themselves with that little step back in that final halt again. But a super consistent test, and a very, very exciting horse for the future, and a really nice combination. There's so much more to come from this pair. When they can get that bit more control of the body, that bit of consistency, this horse will be scoring really high. And they're starting from such a strong place as well, knowing that she's capable of coming in this arena and performing. It's a very, very nice place to be. So just ironing out the details over the next year. But a very good job by them. And that score's just coming through, 66.292. So that puts her into third place at this point. So a little bit below her score in the individual. But really great to have that second opportunity in the arena, to get her in the arena and to build on their partnership for the future. So really, really exciting for them. And 3 riders left to go in this first group of grade 1. We have Austria, Italy, and Greece. Greece riding here as an individual. 2 riders coming forward for Italy in this class. Both will be very influential for this Italian team. But first to go, representing Austria, Julia Skiancalapor, riding the 11-year-old gelding, Heinrich IV. She scored 72.208 and finished 6th in the individual, so we'll be hoping to do something similar to secure that place in the freestyle final. And teammate Peppo, having gone earlier today in the grade 2, they'll have 2 more riders going forwards tomorrow when the grade 4s and 5s compete. Just being led around the arena. The riders having the option to have a bit of support as you go around the edge of the arena to give the horse confidence, just to check there aren't any issues. And some riders choosing to bring a friendly horse in, some riders choosing to have someone walk around with them. But entering the arena, representing Austria, Julia Skiancalapor. And a super halt to start. The horse just showing a little bit of resistance. You can just see coming up a little bit with that head and neck and just holding a bit in the body, but very good immobility in that halt. Very square. So just needing to keep that softness through this walk section. Just see that little bit of holding and tension just to stop those really high marks. Nicely through that change of bend. And you can just see when the horse gets a bit softer and gives in his back, the walk stride gets a little bit longer and really uses the body in a better way. But just still got that little bit of tension. Doing a very good job of staying focused on his rider. Again, just 11, so still plenty of time for that development and to build that confidence up. Just really want something with a nice attitude that wants to work and wants to try, and then you can kind of work with the other things. And this horse does look like he has that sort of attitude. Just had a little look at the outside. Again, just not wanting too much bend in the neck on these circles. The horse needing to bend around your leg through the body as well as the neck. So sometimes just getting that little bit of falling out through the outside shoulder, and then you lose that energy out the side rather than channeling it through out the front. The turn's looking a little bit easier and more true to the left than the right. The right side tends to have a little bit too much bending. But the horse very obedient and willing through this work. Nicer steps around there. And super squared up. Very good halt. Just keeping this rhythm consistent, taking her time in the arena. And yeah, nicely, she offered the rein and the horse took it forwards really nicely there, even better towards the end. And that's what you want when you give the rein. You want the horse to not to snatch it forward, but follow it forward and seek it. And a good halt to finish, and she looks delighted. Very happy rider. And the horse just lapping it up. Really just taking everything in a stride. So nice to see. And you can just see there how the horse got better, I think, throughout the test, and just that little bit of softness made a huge difference to the stride. Just that bit of extra relaxation really helped everything just to be that little bit more fluid and show off that walk a bit better. But that's a really positive sign when the horse improves as you spend the time in the arena, and that's something you can really build on. And she'll be hoping to have done enough to go through to ride again on Saturday, but we'll have to wait till the end to see that. So 70.375 is that final score. She goes into second place at this point in the class. And their team result there, so 2 scores over 70. She is currently down as that drop score, but we'll have to see how those final 2 riders go tomorrow to see whether that will be a counting score. But 2 solid scores for Austria in that team competition, which is an excellent start for them to have. But next into the arena will be this rider for Italy. And this rider scored 72.583 in the individual class, leaving her in 5th place. And her teammate Sarah having a very tricky ride in that individual. The horse a little bit spooky and on edge, and doing a very good job to coax him through. So they'll be hoping for a slightly more relaxed horse today, but a good score from Carola would be a very useful score for the Italian team. So we will have to see what she can produce today. Also wanting to go through to that freestyle final. So another consistent performance should help her to do that. So entering the arena for Italy, Carola Sempaboni, riding the 18-year-old gelding, Paul. And a good start for them. This horse responded well in the arena for the individual on Tuesday, so hopefully we can see another settled performance from them to kick off their team campaign. Just having a little bit of a look around, but she's doing a good job just to keep the focus. And her legs sitting a little bit away from the side of the horse, so really having to use her weight to guide the horse and to put his body in the right place. Not able to offer so much support from the leg, but riding some very nice lines, showing good bend on that circle. And really keeping that nice rhythm and consistently out to the frame through this walk. Just having to work a little bit on this left side just to get the softness. And doing well, riding straight there before the turn to really finish that circle in a definitive way. Could just have a little bit more suppleness on this one here. Yeah, I think better in that second half, just hollowing a little bit going into that, just for those really high marks. Into the serpentine, so the serpentine looking to hit those 3/4 lines, showing that change of bend and the accuracy on the lines. So doing that well here. Just getting that slight head tilt, a little bit too much left bend going into that halt, but very square, very good immobility. Nicely out from that halt. So wanting to ride a couple of strides straight as you go into the halt, just to make sure that you have that straightness and it's true and genuine before you go into the halt. And the judges on the BE line will have a really good view there of that straightness. Choosing to give the rein for the free walk. Showing some nice steps through here. And a smooth pickup. Judges looking at those transitions from the free walk to the medium walk and the medium walk to the free walk. And just a little bit on the forehand going into that, but a very consistent test again from this partnership. And Sarah Morganti looking on, she'll be riding in this second group of riders in just over an hour. But a very good job by this partnership again to produce another consistent test. And those scores just coming through shortly. So 72.583 in fifth place was her score from the individual competition. And it's 71.5, so that puts her into second place at this point in time, but still some very good combinations to come forwards. And Italy have those two scores. Their third one will come from Sarah Morganti, and Federica will ride tomorrow. So we should have a very good idea by the end of today where the Italian team are sitting as well. And Sarah Morganti will be hoping for a slightly calmer ride than she had in the individual, I'm sure. Capable of pulling in some really good scores, so just needing that horse to be a bit more settled than it was in the individual for her to do that. But next into the arena will be representing Greece, Mikhail Kalarakis. He rides the 7-year-old gelding Eros CS, and he had a very nice ride in the individual. Came 9th on 69.125, so if he can build on that slightly, he could be looking at a place in the final. The scores from that Grand Prix A and this Grand Prix B counting both as qualifiers to go through to that freestyle final on Saturday, so both play a part. So two consistent performances would be very, very useful. Greece not having a team here. He's just riding as an individual. And they've really put a lot of work into exposing the combinations and the riders to international competition a lot more. They did a lot of travelling, especially last year, around Europe in preparation for that World Championships, and are now really looking at building up their horsepower as well. And it really is a credit to their work that Mikhail has been able to come forward on this young horse and give him such a good ride and such a good experience. that he did in the individual. So very exciting combination for the future. But entering the arena now, representing Greece, and Mikael Kalarakis. This horse actually just 7 years old, not the 18 you see on screen. And you just saw, as he came around that corner, the horse wanting to look a little bit to the outside, and he just put that right leg on a little bit and said, stay with me, stay focusing on me inside the arena, not looking at what's going on outside. So very, very well managed through there. Keep his focus back on him. And nicely through those turns. Just getting a little bit of head movement. The horse just not quite settling completely, but doing a very good job of making those tiny adjustments to bring him back to him. Keeping that nice rhythm through those turns. And we will see walks that have more scope than this in this class, but doing a very good job of maintaining that rhythm and riding that balance through the turns, and that's where he can pick those marks up. That those horses with bigger moving walks, sometimes they lose the balance, the rhythm gets affected, and the energy goes out the side on those turns. So here he can really just ride for that consistency and help that horse with the balance through the turns and show that off really well. Again, you just see that just getting away a little bit from him. It looks like the German horse of Martina stood in that corner there as a friendly horse. It's very supportive from the other nations to help these riders. Greece just with this one horse here, so not able to use one of their own horses. Nicely through the serpentine, just getting that little bit of lack of acceptance in the rein. You just get that slight movement where he just sometimes wants to get a bit long and loses the balance to the front a tiny bit, but doing a very good job of keeping that minimal, making those adjustments. You just saw, you're just giving the rein there on the turn, just using a bit of leg, saying stay up into the bridle, carry yourself, not going to lean on me yet. And again, just giving that rein, going into that halt, and you got a nice uphill halt, not quite square behind, but went in a very nice balance just from that adjustment that he made going into that. And it really is these tiny little adjustments made throughout the test, and if riders are able to do them in a really subtle way that doesn't disrupt anything, you can keep and maintain the quality way of going and really scoop those marks up. So showing some nice stretch there. Could see a little bit more, but again, sometimes working within the confines of the reins and how much you're prepared to let out and how quickly you can get the reins back. He's having to lean forward a little bit to show that. Just one more step. Oh, and just missing out that final step into the square hole, but he looks delighted. And another very nice test for Greece. And it looks like he's may have just built on that score from the individual, which is a fantastic thing to have done. And he finished that individual in 9th place, so very, very close between 9th and 8th. So he'll have to wait and see how the other riders go in this grade 1. Might just possibly sit just outside that qualifying group. At 69.750. So that puts him into 4th place. So really built on that score from the individual a little bit, which is great for him, great for the horse. And here are the current standings for the team. So Spain with 3 riders to compete. Germany also have had 3 riders to compete, but only 2 of them are counting on that score. And the others all with just 1 rider whose score is on that board. So not a complete comparison. And here are the results. For this first group of riders, Germany sitting out in front, Italy in 2nd, and Austria in that 3rd place. So we have a short break before our second group of riders in this grade 1. And we'll be back at 3:15. And welcome back to this final group for the competition today, the second group of the Grade 1 riders in this Grade 1 Grand Prix B class as part of the team competition. We have 7 riders coming forward in this final group. And we've had some very good results so far today. The team competition is starting to play out. And these riders all also competing in this Grand Prix B as part of their second qualifier for this freestyle final on Saturday. So very important class for both the team and the individual competition. And the first rider in this group of riders just coming forward now for Great Britain. And Gabby has had the dream start to her championship debut. A stunning bronze medal in that individual class on Tuesday, with a fantastic score of 74.583. So really had a cracking start to this competition. And Great Britain have had a very good start to this team competition, with Georgia Wilson going in the Grade 2 in this class before us, scoring a very good high 74%. So if Gabby can produce a score similar to that score she did for the individual, that would put Britain in a very nice place for that team competition. And just walking around the edge with her trainer, Nikki Lickley. Nikki training Gabby and Georgia at this championship. Both riders picking up individual medals at the start of the week. So next into the arena, representing Great Britain, Gabby Blake, riding the 14-year-old gelding Strongbow. And Beau, a real character. He leads racehorses out as part of his weekly training regime. Likes to have a bit of a gallop. Gabby's mum Estelle rides the horse in for her. So a real family effort for this combination. And she managed to produce a really consistent and flowing test in that individual. This horse not the scopiest of walkers, but really keeping the activity and stays in a nice frame in that nice uphill balance through the movements and starting very nicely. He scored some really good marks for the halts as well, really pulling up that average and showing some super work today, almost looking a bit more settled today and keeping that march, but having a super relaxation as well. Showing nice bend through that circle. And really you can see when Gabby uses that little bit of drive to say keep walking, he really channels it forward and pushing with it. While some of the other riders struggled with the the balance and the control of the movement, and the energy slips out to the side. Gabby doing a really good job of channeling this through to get that length of stride as much as she can. And just using those corners to stay focused on me. No looking at the outside. Just a little bit of resistance on that turn, but very quickly managing to get it back. Bo looking really on side with Gabby today. Really enjoying his championship experience as much as she is, I'm sure. Just saw that slight bit of hesitation. Gabby been really quick to pick up and keep his focus, keep him pushing forwards. We could really do with a super halt again. Just leaving, just leaving that hind leg behind, and then you just had that step forward, just interrupting that immobility, which was a shame. And you just saw that score just dropping down a little bit, but straight back into this marching walk. Again, could just set him up a little bit more for that, but you can see him taking the rein as much as he can. They're better towards the end there, so could have just had a bit more, softened him a little bit going into that so that he goes into it a bit quicker. We didn't quite see the best of that towards the second half, but really taking that rein forwards when Gabby offered, having to lean forward, so not quite able to give as much as she might like, but a better final halt, just leaving that right hind. But another super consistent performance for Gabby. And the team there watching at the side. She's doing an exceptional job here at her championship debut. Really strong rides through both of these straight tests, and this is going to be a very helpful score for Gabby and for Great Britain's team. She really wasn't expecting that bronze medal, but was over the moon to have done so. And there are big cheers coming through as that score comes up, and we should have it on our screen in just a moment. It's another good one for Britain and a great one for Gabby. A 74.417, so that puts her into second place in this grade 1 class, and another 74% score for Great Britain. You can see that score there, the first one from Georgia, so just coming up as that drop score at the moment, but those two scores are going to be very, very helpful for the team. Charlotte and Sophie will ride tomorrow in that grade 5 competition, but two very good scores for Britain. So this team competition really heating up now. Next into the arena, riding as an individual for Latvia. He had that exceptional gold medal on the first day on Tuesday with a score of 75.250, with an error, of course, in that test as well, where he just got a little bit lost and a bit confused, but managed to pull it back with the quality of the work. So he'll be looking to put another good solid test behind him to qualify him through for that freestyle final on Saturday, where he will be hoping to ride for a second medal. So representing Latvia, Richard Snikus riding the 15-year-old gelding, king of the dance. Just see him there circling around, taking his time so that he can get this good line to start his test. And he is actually a DJ in his spare time around the riding. A superb halt to start there. So he really does excel in the freestyle competition. And this horse just so relaxed and comfortable in this environment, really able to show off the horse's walk. They're a very established partnership and an excellent start for them with that brilliant halt at the beginning. They've been together a number of years and know each other so well, so much confidence in each other. And you see when you watch them ride and watch them perform, there's just such an ease and confidence about them. And a little bit abrupt through that turn on the centre line, but able to really ride straight before showing the bend on that circle. And this horse just able to use his whole body around those circles. Not always the most uphill we'll see in this walk class, but stays very open and out in the frame and shows a really nice self-carriage and balance through the walk, and just that consistent steady rhythm through these movements, which is really what they want to see. Just keeping the activity on that circle. Really difficult sometimes with these big moving horses to channel that energy, keeping the activity on those turns and through those circles, but doing a nice job of this here. And again, through the serpentine. And he has a very unique driving style in the saddle, almost bounces in the saddle to communicate with the horse, but he knows exactly what he wants him to do. They've worked together for so long that he uses his body in a very good way to communicate through to this horse. A very straight going into that halt. You just saw him finishing that half circle and riding that straight line going into the halt, so then you got that lovely straightness through the body and that really even footing for that square halt. And this rider is such a well-known character in the para-dressage world. He's always the first on the dance floor and the last to leave, but he takes his riding so seriously but has such a lot of fun with it as well, and it's so nice to see. It's such a good balance. He either has that happy expression or that game face on, and you know when he's in the ring, the game face is on, and he's riding for those medals. And a super finish to that Grand Prix B test. Sitting on a phenomenal score of 77% at the moment. So unfortunately not here with a team for this competition, riding as an individual. So this score not counting for anything other than that qualification through for the freestyle final. But what a way to secure that qualification. That will take a lot of beating in this individual class in its own right. But it just shows us what to expect in that individual final on Saturday. There's more to come from this combination. Always so nice to see them in the arena, and the freestyle just really adds to that. It's definitely one to watch as he rides for a second individual medal for Latvia. And he's just waiting for that final score because he knows it will be a good one. He's had some fantastic scores on this horse so far this year. And here we go, 77.583. An individual score of 80 from the judge at C. And that puts him straight into the lead and guarantees him a spot in that final on Saturday. So absolutely phenomenal from Latvia's rider. And 5 riders left to go in this final group of riders. We still have Ireland and France and Italy still to go for that team competition, but the next rider into the arena will be representing Poland. Things starting to heat up, it looks like. A lot of people choosing to go in the shade. And the final group of riders are also going in the dressage arena for their team competition. So things are starting to get a bit busier at the venue. So great having the two disciplines running alongside each other, really creating an atmosphere for this para-dressage competition. And this next rider into the arena, so riding for Team Poland, and riding the 15-year-old mare Sibylla. And Magdalena scored 61.875 for 14th place in the individual. And just, yeah, the trainer just walking around with her, just settling the horse. Just making sure that everything's okay and trying to give her a bit of confidence before she goes in the ring. Something that these riders in grade 1, 2 and 3 are able to do. So entering the arena for Poland, Magdalena Sajkak. Just losing a little bit of the picture on that first centre line. This horse showing some nice steps through this first walk section. Just want to see a little bit more activity. A little bit better on that circle though, really. Yeah, really nicely through there, taking her time to keep that balance. It's quite a big moving horse, so there's sometimes a lot to try to organize, but you just don't always feel like the horse is really stepping through with enough activity to make that a bit easier for her. But doing a good job through those circles and changes of direction just to try and keep that balance together and to not lose the energy she does have. Horse just getting a little bit unsettled in the contact, but better on that circle. Just bearing a little bit down in front. Yeah, really wanting to see in the walk the activity of a horse walking to get their feed in the morning and that same level of relaxation. So a really fine line between that balance of power and harmony and softness. But doing a very good job through those circles of moving that moving the horse's body weight and positioning into the right place so that the rhythm stays the same and there isn't that loss of balance that you can see through there. And the serpentine looking to hit that 3/4 line. So just a little bit of an abrupt turn through that middle section, but nicely onto this left loop. And you can hear the whoops of the crowd from that dressage arena as those fine riders start to finish the test. But this horse not being too fazed by it. Just pulling the rider a little bit out of the saddle there. I don't know if the horse wants to scratch or it's a little bit of tension, but she did a really good job there of just keeping her place in the saddle. When the riders don't have that core strength to support themselves when the horse reacts like that. It can be really difficult, especially when they have those loop reins, because the reins don't slide through your hand when the horse snatches the rein a bit. You often keep hold of the reins and just get pulled out of the saddle. So doing a very good job of managing that and saying stay up, stay in your own balance. And again, a very consistent test from them, and definitely building on their performance in the individual. So I think they'll be pleased with that for the team, and certainly for her as an individual. So 61.875 was that individual score, looking a few percent above that. So that's what you really want as a rider, to grow throughout the competition and build on each performance. And it looks like that's what she has managed to do here. So probably not going through to that final, but great to have had these two rides in the arena and improved each day. And just getting a bit of a debrief from the trainer there. She looks very happy. And those scores should come through in just a moment. Still just 4 riders left to go in this class. And the score for Poland, 64.959. So that puts her in 9th place at the moment in this class. And a first score for Poland. The second 2 riders will come tomorrow when the grade 4s and 5s ride. So just 1 score to put forward for them as a team. And this next rider making his way over to the arena. So representing Ireland, Michael Murphy, riding the 16-year-old gelding Clever Boy. And with him is Elda Klatsko, his trainer. She's warms up the horse for her, for Michael. Scores him at home, does quite a lot of work in helping to prepare him for this test in the arena. These riders in grade 1, 2 and 3 able to have a rider warm the horse up for up to 30 minutes before the test. And some riders choosing to use that, other riders finding it a little bit easier just to get straight on. He scored 74.4042 in the individual, which just left him in 4th, just outside the medals. But entering the arena for Ireland, Michael Murphy. And a solid entry for Michael. Ireland down to 3 scores after Katie unfortunately had to withdraw in the grade 3 earlier. So already a score from Jessica McKenna, the second rider to go in grade 3. And Sarah Slattery will go tomorrow. But a very good start for Michael. And he will be looking to put something good forward for the team, but also to secure his place in that final, wanting to ride for an individual medal, having just missed out with that 4th place in the individual. And this horse looking in a much better place today, really powering around. Showing that better impulsion, staying up in the frame in that self-carriage. So Michael off to a good start here. Just a little bit of sneezing. Michael just softening him, saying, stay with me. Let's not go overboard. Nicely through that turn. And you can see there, he really controls that outside shoulder through the turn, so that energy and impulsion comes out the front with that walk and the expression in the walk, rather than just losing that energy through the side that we saw a few of the horses doing. Which is, this is a big horse and a big moving horse, and Michael, not very tall and not very large, so really not able to ride with strength. He's got to use his balance and really subtle cues for the horse to influence him, and doing that very nicely today. I think this is the sort of work he would have liked to have shown in that individual, but really coming through in a nice way for this team competition. Super stride. This horse just so much quality. Straightening, yeah, very good. Just losing that right hind behind him to not quite be square, but very good immobility. Nice and straight on that EB line. And you saw him there, just softening him through that right half circle, so that he really shows the bend through the body. Picking up that right shoulder. You can just see him turning his body to encourage the horse to put his body on the same line. And that's where Michael really struggles. He's not able to drop the rein for the free walk, but he also doesn't have the core strength to lean forward to give the rein and allow the horse. So really having to sacrifice those marks in the free walk for this final centre line, because he wouldn't be able to get the rein back if he did that. But a super final hole and a much better test than that individual. I think he'll be pretty pleased with that. And that will be a very nice score for the Irish team, but that will also secure his spot in the final on Saturday, where he will be fighting for that individual medal that he would have been wanting on the individual day on Tuesday. Just the stride this horse can show. Really good activity through this test, really highlighting the horse's suppleness into a super connection. Very nice uphill frame. Much better, much improved from a couple of days ago. And just very easy way of going when he's like this. Really make a nice picture. And his mum Sue there, his brother, congratulating him. And those scores coming through, 75.792, scores up to 79%, and he goes into second place in this grade 1 class, but he will be very, very happy with that, following on from that individual. And Pran, the judge at E, having him in first place ahead of Rehad, but these are the two scores now for Ireland, 144.425, so that puts them in third place at this point, with one more score still to come tomorrow from Sarah. But a super score for Ireland and a super performance for Michael. Just such a huge team effort to get all these riders into the arena, but Michael, it all comes down to timing. He fatigues very quickly, and it's a very big moving horse to manage, so timing is very crucial for him in his warm-up regime, for them to be able to deliver their best in the arena when it matters. And this next rider coming forward now for Italy. 3 riders left to go in this class, and this is Italy's second rider in this grade 1 class. And Sarah had a really difficult ride for that individual, so she'll be hoping to build on that. The horse just not fully settled in the arena and spooking quite a lot, and she did a very good job to manage that and to coax her through the test and really built on that, so she'll be hoping that she comes in this arena feeling better and more settled. She's had some super results on this mare, some multiple medalist over the years, so really we'll be hoping to put something stronger forward for this Grand Prix B test for the Italian team, but also for her own qualification. She finished 11th on 67.125, so could really do with pulling something special out the bag to pull her up those rankings. So entering the arena for Italy, Sara Morganti. She rides this 11-year-old mare, Maribel. And often has a choice of horses. She doesn't usually campaign just one. It's very fortunate as a rider if you have a couple of rides to choose from. Showing some good change of bend, good suppleness through those circles. Just losing the quarters a little bit towards the end of that circle. Just want to keep control of that. The horse doesn't step underneath with those hind legs as much as some of the other grade 1 horses that we've seen, but really has quite a scopy stride and stays in a very nice loose way through this work. And Sarah, a real pro at riding that rhythm consistency and really hits those markers, rides that good activity. To pull those marks in where she can. And this is looking a huge improvement from that test we saw on Tuesday. So she will be delighted with this, if not frustrated that she wasn't able to do it for the individual. But horses are not machines, and it's our job to give them the best experience that we can and to give them that confidence ready for their next time in the arena, and she has done a really good job of that, because this mare is a different horse coming into this arena today. And that's why being able to expose these horses to a busier atmosphere is so valuable as part of their preparation. And your preparation as a rider, you need to know how they're going to cope. And just didn't quite look like she'd managed to get that straightness going into the halt, so then you just saw those hind legs not quite squaring up, but very good immobility, very good submission moving into the halt. Yeah, and you can see the difference between Michael and Sarah. So Sarah able to let go of the rein and allow the horse some space to extend the head and neck and really stretch down into that, which he wasn't able to do. So able to keep those marks up through the free walk and then gather the reins back, ready for this final centre line. But this is looking very strong for Italy, and not quite square behind, but very good final halt. She's very happy with that, and the Italian team also showing their appreciation. Big smiles for Sarah. And it really does show, if you're able to just build on that experience in the arena and get that horse more comfortable and more confident, they can come out even better the next time. And her experience really shows through to give her that good ride on Tuesday so that she could come out and do that today. And I think the score just coming through, but it will be a good one. So we'll just wait for that now. I think it might pop into the lead. And here we go, and wow, is it a good one. Two scores over 80%, 78.250, and she goes straight into the lead for that top spot in this grade 1 class. And there we have 3 scores for Italy, that 71.5 coming up as a drop score, but 150.483 with 2 of those scores, and a very nice final score for Italy after 3 riders. Their 4th rider will come tomorrow to see whether or not they will need to use that score or it remains as a drop score, but 2 very solid scores and a very, very high score from Sarah to help their team campaign. And we'll have to do some maths to see how that compares with Team Germany, who also have had 3 riders so far. But tomorrow will be a very influential day with those final group of riders coming forwards. And this next rider into the arena representing Portugal. Ana Isabel Motovega riding the 16-year-old stallion Convicto. And she finished 12th in the individual on Tuesday on a score of 66.458%. On this lovely grey Lusitano. So, entering the arena, this penultimate rider in this Grade 1 class. She just circles round to get that better line. Representing Portugal, Ana Isabel Motovega. Just leaving that right hind, but very good immobility. And choosing to ride, it looks like, without stirrups, so riders can choose whether they ride with or without stirrups as part of their compensating aids. Some riders' disabilities, that stirrups actually get in the way and don't help, and they find it difficult to sit evenly in the saddle. So for some riders it is more of a hindrance than a help. And she is one who obviously finds it easier to sit in the saddle in a better way without them. Just that circle looking a little bit small to the right and just not quite getting the straightness as she came out of it, but looking much better now down the center line and showing some really nice bend through there. Very good change from that straight onto the circle. This horse keeping a good rhythm through this first section. You just see her activating him to keep that activity, so really wanting to keep the flow of that walk and not any moments where they jump forwards because they sloped off a little bit. But nicely through that first section, looking stronger and more consistent than that first day. Yeah, some nice bend through that first loop. Just getting a little bit over enthusiastic at times. You just see that little boost through the rhythm where the tempo just speeds up just fractionally and she has to then say, oh wait, come back. But very quick to catch that so that it doesn't turn into anything more. And really nicely straight into that hole. And not quite square in front, but really set the horse up nicely for that. Just wanting to allow a little bit with the reins so that the horse can take the frame out in that hole. And you can hear the cheers from the dressage arena. These Grade 1 horses are going to have to really concentrate on their riders, but this horse doing a fantastic job of doing that. This is an unfortunately timed movement while they're chanting and clapping, but they're really super temperament. Really keeping that focus. And a very good halt to finish. Just not square behind, but super immobility. And a really good job. Looks like she's really built on that individual test. And really well managed that extra applause from the other arena. Some real highlights. A very consistent test through this walk section. Just managing to maintain that consistent rhythm, and big smiles for her. She looks very happy with that performance. So 8.167 puts her into 10th place in this class, this very high scoring Grade 1. So a nice improvement for her from that individual, and a great opportunity for her to be in the arena these 2 times and build on that performance and build on that experience for her and the horse. And we now have just 1 rider left to go in this class, and the last class of today's competition. And tomorrow the Grade 5s will come forward first, and the Grade 4s will be the last class to go to decide those team medals. And rider just being called over. He's saying you're up next, you're in. This rider representing France. And we've already had 1 rider for France with Chiara Zanatti putting a nice score forward for the team competition in the grade 3. And the final 2 riders will ride tomorrow, so just 2 scores we'll have for France by the end of today. This horse, 13-year-old gelding, Equator Boy LH. And they scored 72.042 in the individual and finished in 7th place. But entering the arena for this final rider in this grade 1 class, representing France, Anne-Frédérique Royon. Just not stepping through with that right foot. Oh no, I think he just squared up just as the camera panned out. Now you can see her there just encouraging him up in the frame, just wanting to sit a little bit on that rein, a bit on the forehand and get a bit long, and she just keeps encouraging him back with the balance. He has a lot of scope in his steps, this horse. Just can sometimes has that inclination to get too long and a bit down in front. So having to, you can just see her making those adjustments as she goes through the movements, just saying, just carry yourself. We want to see that self-carriage, not me carrying you. But keeping a really nice rhythm through these movements. And a little bit better suppleness to the right than the left, I think, with this horse. Most horses have one side they find a bit easier than the other. Nicely through that corner. And again, just using that little bit of leg where she can, that bit of voice, just to communicate through to the horse. Doing a really nice job of maintaining that rhythm. Just see her there, just struggling a little bit with that left bend through the serpentine. This right one offered a little bit easier and more naturally for the horse. Just see that little bit of lack of suppleness and you get that bit of resistance. through those turns, but again, those steps just staying the same in a really nice way. Just step forward. So not quite square, but just kind of overshooting that right foreleg. But very good air mobility, nice and straight through the body going into that. And just those tiny details that drop the mark or stop the mark from being those higher ones. Some nice stretch. This is where the horse really is comfortable. And again, very unfortunate timing with the cheers being during that free walk, but this horse really good in the brain and just not losing his focus at all. And a super square halt to finish. Another consistent test for France. And that hopefully should be enough to put her through for that freestyle final on Saturday as well. The horse just trying to scratch. But a really very nice attitude with this gelding as they start to build their team for Paris next year for that Paralympic Games. And still a lot of quality and still more marks they can get as well. So very exciting, but a very nice attitude and temperament to be working with. So an excellent place to be. Just waiting for that final score to come through. That last final rider of this grade 1 class and final rider of the day. Those scores just coming through now for France. Already one score from the grade 3 rider Chiara Zanatti. And here we go, 70.334, so that puts her into 8th place in this grade 1 class today. She was 7th yesterday, so that will secure her a place in the final. And another solid score for France there, so 72 and a 70. So currently down as a drop score, but we'll have to see how that plays out with those final two riders tomorrow. And a very high quality grade 1 class. So here are the current standings for the team. Spain sitting in top place with 202, but they have had all 3 riders complete. Germany in 2nd and Italy in 3rd at the moment, but those Denmark down through 5th, 6th, 7th place, they are only counting one of their riders, and 2 of those riders have gone for Great Britain and for Italy. So that medal table will shift when those final scores come through in the competition tomorrow with the grade 5 and the grade 4 riders. And here are the final results for that grade 1 class. A massive 8 riders all over 70%, with Sara Morganti back on top for Italy, Latvia in 2nd, and Michael Murphy finishing in 3rd for Ireland, all on huge, huge scores. So really shifting from that individual competition. And those will be combined with the Grand Prix A scores to decide who goes through to that final. but those top 8 all should be through to that based on their scores from Tuesday. And that's us for today. Have a lovely evening, and we will be back with those grade 5 riders at 8:45.